Welcome everyone. This is episode 48 of the Transmaxxing podcast, and today's topic is Transmaxxing versus the same effort to improve yourself as a male. So maybe one of the more convincing arguments against Transmaxxing is the notion that there is some better way you can spend your effort, but you don't have to transition, and there are like various options for that, like going to the gym for example. So did any of you try those things first?
I tried a little bit. I know my older brother felt very sad for me, so he, very much being an older brother, like the first sibling of the bunch, was trying to be a leader and was trying to help guide me and all of his advice and stuff. I just fumbled and failed, and it was like a very horrible and kind of shameful process, to be honest.
My process was quite shameful as well. About 7 years ago, in the summer of 2017, I had two people physically take me out of my barracks room and took me to the gym with them. And because they were like, "Hey, you're like way too skinny and stuff like that. You need to you need to masculine up, put some meat on your bones and stuff like that." And I didn't want to because I wanted to, ultimately transition. But I said, well, maybe this will help with everything. And obviously, it didn't. 7 years later, so
I don't know why, but for some reason it's very popular that people are told to go to the gym, and I don't know why this of all things is giving us advice to people, like how is this supposed to work?
I think because the gym is seen as like a very masculine thing to do, and I think people think you'll get like a good physique and you'll have girls that will just be like, putting like basically throwing their bodies out to you, which it's not the case, by the way. It is for a bit, but then you reach a point where, like for me, you get too big, too like I was way too big, way too muscular, where people couldn't even put their arms around me because I was so big, and so it becomes really off-putting. I would say after like year one or year two.
Yeah, I think that is the case, unfortunately, that if you get too big, like even if you don't do steroids, too much muscle is like off-putting, your body will look kind of wrong. And we kind of see it here in VT the picture here where the guy to the right, he has too much muscle, so he kind of holds him back, it looks wrong, it isn't like proportional.
Yeah, I was not even on the small amount of stuff I took yet. I was still 100% natural, and like I don't know, I was just a really big hyper responder when it came to training and having like high protein diet, high calorie diet like I had. So I mean, I kind of in a way look like that guy on the right. Um, Maybe not as tall, obviously, but I was definitely built like that. And even nowadays, with um, having lost, I'd say like 80 to 90% of my muscle, I see dudes like that all the time at the gym. I still go from time to time, and it's not attractive at all in my eyes. Looking back on it now, like before HRT, when I was, 100% male brain and stuff like that, I thought I looked decent, but not like physically attractive, if that makes sense.
Yeah, I get what you mean. I feel like, yeah, there's a very fine line between becoming looking like a danger to society and actually looking decent, and a lot of gym culture pushes you way too far.
Yeah, I actually checked my email that I rarely used because I registered at the bodybuilding forums, and it was like spam email after spam email with like products to buy, like protein stuff, like stuff you never need. So like beat all the gym culture is like people scamming you, trying to get your money, so you like buy those useless supplements. And it kind of goes together. because they promote the very natural physique that is frankly unattractive. And then when people try to reach that, they end up going for like either steroids or like idiotic supplements.
Um, I'm definitely a victim of those supplements. I used to buy like those T booster things, like they're like 50 or $60 at the store. And it's like, oh, increase your natural
Mhm.
testosterone and stuff like that. Honestly, they're placebo at best. I did feel good while taking those type of supplements. I don't know what was in them. I don't know, like they could have put anything in them, right? But I did feel like more energetic, more like a little bit more masculine, like in my early to mid 20s. So I don't want to say they don't work. I just don't think they work anywhere near as close as what people claim to they work. But in a way, they're still a waste of money completely, though. That's no question about that.
Yeah, and even if, let's say, you don't take any of them supplements, but just spend 3 hours a day at the gym, like this is total waste of time. Like imagine how much money you can make just working instead. And that will be way better for actually getting a girlfriend. I have like money saved up for marriage and children.
Yeah. So the funny thing about that was I was also still working full time and going to the gym full time. I was going, well, maybe like not as much as I at my worst. I was still going to like the gym about 1 to 2 hours a day, maybe 3 to 4 times a week, while still working like long hours, like 10, 11, 12 hours a day. And it was hard, but eventually I increased my gym time to like 3 hours a day to 6 to 7 days a week when like the dysphoria was really bad. And I honestly, even though I was making good money, I wish I could just have that time back. Just that amount of the free time that was wasted at the gym is it's so invaluable that I would honestly do anything to get that time back.
Yeah, like your time is valuable, and like, what's the point of living if you are just spending all your time just torturing yourself or just doing stuff for the future? Because this is basically a lot of like male self-improvement. It just spend all this effort for the promise for something in the future. You are told that if you do all those things, you will get a girlfriend way down the line. And I just don't buy it. Like, you shouldn't have to do all those things to get a girlfriend. And I can tell you that what actually worked was none of that. What worked for me was using dating apps and having like decent pictures, and that way I actually found someone. As I found like several people, nothing that really lasted, but I still found people who were like really interested in me for real. And I did not have to like spend hours out the day at the gym. And I did not have to like talk to randos at the street or anything like that. Maybe just doing the official route is actually the best way rather than like trying to cheat the system. Because this is also the popular advice that I see a lot of the time where people are told to like just talk to like strangers and try to flirt with them. But it's getting kind of risky these days. The boss actually picked up artists who got sent to jail because the woman accused him of doing something like improper, being like aggressive or something. And yeah, of course denied it. I don't know if he was guilty or not, but you remember thought he was guilty, and then he got punished.
Yeah. A lot of normal people, they try to say that, like, just touch grass and, like, they grew up in a way to learn all these social skills that they can just, like, go out and, like, be able to interact in a way and read the room and understand such. But for, like, others, you actually have to, like, work at it and, like, reflect on your how you, like, respond and, like, try to actually, like, improve at talking just like you would at any other skill, because that is a very important skill to get good at if you actually do want to get women.
Hit the nail on the head completely. Being able to read the room. So one thing I learned about the gym culture is I guess call them gym cells or whatever, but they are extremely lonely men. Like, they do not get dates. They live, eat, and breathe the gym, and honestly, it kills their social skills. Like, it is so bad, and it's like when they go up to women and like try to talk to them, they just get turned down immediately because the women they could read the guy, they can read him like a book. It's not even it's like night and day difference. So honestly, like what Val said, go develop some real social skills. Go to the bar, actually meet people, go touch grass because the gym is not the place that you're gonna meet someone. I'm just saying you are not gonna meet your future husband or wife at the gym.
From
Yeah.
experience, I have not seen that like talking to people in the real life typically leads to like anything long lasting, even when it comes to like dating or really anything. But I know some other people have success that way. I know at least for me, online dating worked better than trying to like talk to people in real life.
Yeah, the biggest problem is finding the spaces to do these things because it's been harder. Like the internet has been like capturing everyone that like you can't really find these hobby spaces or other places where you genuinely enjoy what you're doing and you just can let yourself shine and like make very close friends and like relationships that way. But like unfortunately, yeah, it seems like internet's getting better and better and it's like dominating the scene when it comes to social interaction.
Yeah, and a lot of the time with dating apps, they have the first like match you before you can even talk to them. So if you don't look like attractive enough, you get like rejected right away. And to be clear, in my case, I do get matches on dating apps, so I can like talk to people. I'm kind of bad at like texting females. I'm actually better at meeting them in real life than text for some reason.
I will say on the flip side though, being a woman, I really don't need the social skills as I would when it comes to these men because like they're just so interested in me that like, as long as you know how to respond and like have like your own consent that you want, you'll be able to like communicate with these men and like most of them will still want you even if you tell them no.
Yeah,
And that's one of the benefits of being transgender is being able to attract high value men and then more.
yeah. If you stay male, still you constantly trying to like improve yourself, make yourself attractive to get females. But as a trans female, instead other people trying to pursue you, and I think this is a big appeal that you're the one being pursued and you can like select who you want to be with and not to be with. To escape that shitty male rule of trying to like constantly make yourself more appealing and then often failing.
Yeah, that's like a very hard thing that like doesn't really get addressed a whole lot about it all. Is like, yeah, these men they just like have to deal with like all this rejection, all this being thrown down, and they have to still like go above and beyond that if they really want to like get a partner. And it's kind of ridiculous how it's been going through like social.
Um, yeah, I was gonna say when I was actively dating or trying to date girls, I don't know the ratio, but for every, I guess, like interaction to unsuccessful to like a failed, like, hey, no, sorry, I'm not interested in you, or sorry, boyfriend, like whatever excuse they would use, it was honestly probably one in every 20 to 25. So like it was bad. Like
Honestly.
as a male, you have to try so much harder to date women, and it sucks. Well, at least it sucks.
But honestly, if like you could like attract 1 in 25, this is like a good stat really. You're lucky if you get like 1 in
Well,
25.
you you saw what I
Yeah,
looked like before, so maybe for me, it still felt like hell because for every yes, like hey, I can you can get your number or go on a date or whatever, it was still 25 rejections, which I don't know about you guys, but that kind of hurts. Like having 25 no's before you get a single yes kind of sucks.
I
So
I
if
was
that's actually
very
a good statistic, I don't know.
I was very rejection sensitive as well, so a lot of it was hard for me to like mitigate through when I was trying to get girlfriends. And yeah, truth be had, a lot of women have that as well. And thankfully, they don't even have to go through that. You know, they don't have to really go through rejection because a lot of times they're the ones being chased.
Exactly, and because they're being chased so much, they can choose like the better option for them, like the better man who think they would be most compatible with. Like, say they have maybe 5 to 10 different guys texting them, talking with them, like, and, like in any given week, and they can take their time. They could wait weeks to months to really develop like a certain relationship with them until they want to like actually pick who they want to be their future partner. Which men, they don't have that option at all. Maybe some very lucky guys might be able to have multiple female relationships or acquaintances like going on at the same time, and maybe they'll have to be the one to ultimately pick who they want to go with. But it's yeah,
Also, don't forget that females have a way easier time being single than men because they don't have this insane sex drive like a lot of men have. So a lot of men struggle to be single. Right? They really cannot handle it that well. So they often like resort to like buying sex, and often is it even legal for them to do so? They can like risk jail time just to like satisfy the sex drive.
I think me and Val can both attest to that. That's very true.
Yeah.
I'll let her talk about that.
I will say that for me, it's you can put yourself in the mood, but yeah, if you're just keeping yourself distracted, there's like no need for sex.
Yeah, I was gonna say, well, I know when I first started HRT, my sex drive and libido tanked instantly. Like it was within the first few days, and then as the weeks and months went by, like it slowly started to creep back up. But it's honestly probably like a tenth of what it was as a male. Like, and that's what another thing what Val said. It is so easy just to distract yourself and not think about it, and then if you're not thinking about it, you don't have any of those urges at all. And it's actually really nice and very pleasant to not to constantly be thinking about sex or some bullshit like that. It's like it clears your mind of so much like extra stuff that you can focus on other things. And honestly, for me, I'm just now starting to just even like feel sexual again. Like I think maybe it's because of the 200 milligrams of progesterone, which maybe is like finally starting to kick in for me because I've been taking it for a few weeks now. But before it was like a non-existent. It was gone.
Also, let's not forget that there is this gap between the birth rate of males and females. Like even without like sex-selective abortions, there are way more males being born than females. Like 107 males for 100 females. And before, a lot of males will like die early, so it will like equalize eventually. But now with like modern healthcare, we don't have too many wars. It's like Ukrainians dying and Russians dying, but other than that, people are not really dying in wars anymore. At least not in the best. So we have all those like excess males with nobody to really mesh them with.
Yeah, I was gonna say I see a bleak future for men in the upcoming 25 to 50 years because I just think there's going to be a lot of lonely old men who never. So they say they were incels, their teens, 20s, 30s, 40s, and now they're in their 50s and 60s and they still have no partner. I mean, at that point, you're done, right? It's game over. So, and like you said, with like world wars, like World War One, World War Two, and stuff like that, where a lot of men got sent off to die, had millions of casualties. So it left so many women open. Like a lot of women lost their husbands and stuff like that. So they were widows. So they were actively looking for men to remarry and to restart their life. But nowadays we don't have that. Like yes, men are dying in battles, conflicts right now with Ukraine, Russia, and stuff like that, but nowhere near as close as what it was in the 1940s.
And also with nuclear war, for example, it kills a lot of civilians. It will be more equal in terms of like males and females. But this is kind of ironic because either as a male, You risk being incel or you will risk getting sent to be slaughtered in a war. Or both.
As bad as this sounds, I think war would be good for male incels because it might give them higher chances to get with females. But obviously, I don't agree with wars and stuff like that. So, but it's just something I randomly thought of just now.
The thing is, to be honest, I actually expect more wars for the future, so maybe that way the incel problem will get like less bad because there will be like World War 3. I'm not sure about that, to be honest. It could be like another 40 years until there's like a major conflict. Now there is like Russia against Ukraine, but neither side seems that keen on escalating too much, really. And yeah, there is Israel against Palestine as well. There are some conflict, obviously. It's just not too much in Western countries like America or like functional European countries like only Ukraine and then shitholes pretty much, and Israel.
Yeah, we'll have to wait and see. I know a lot of people I work and talk with, they think, oh, the World War III is coming, like, it's just going to be really shitty. I'm contrary to that opinion. I don't think it's going to be that bad. I think we'll get through this, and a lot of these issues will eventually be resolved diplomatically, and will probably prevent a World War III, in my opinion.
So, what do you think about all those like self-help advice? There are like so many of that stuff, like books and like YouTube videos and everything.
I feel like the authors are helping themselves to a lot of money for everyone who buys it.
I mean, it works for them, right?
Yeah. Honestly, like there's probably like a couple hidden gems of advice, but a lot of times it just gives you like generic things and like random stories and stuff, and it's like it's not helpful enough. And then there's like people who it somehow clings to, and then suddenly it changes their life, but it's not consistent enough to like know if it's actually gonna help you or not.
There are some like common themes in self-help. It's generally that you should believe in yourself, you should like pursue stuff, be like active and stuff. I'm sure that can help, but often people who do that put themselves in unnecessary risks. And they can like take financial risks as well. For example, there is this popular advice to start your own business, and let me tell you that it's way harder than you think. Like before you start a business, you think that it's going to be like relatively easy, but then when you actually get going, there's so many problems that just come up that you didn't like consider beforehand. And I remember before I listened to people who like speeches about like having a business and all of that were like overly positive and stuff and like believing in yourself. And then later on I went to it was from the Swedish tax authorities and they were like way better because they explained all the bullshit you had to do to like run a business. It's sure you can manage it, but it really isn't as easy as people make it out to be, and like the success rate is pretty bad actually. You really need to have a lot of skills to run a business successfully, like way more than like being an employee, because you have to outcompete like companies that are way larger.
Yeah. That's another thing to note is like, if you do want to transition, you never had to like put your like being successful and doing like your dream job or whatever on the back burner. You can transition and do all these other things at the same time.
So I honestly think transitioning will help people like ultimately reach their goals and dreams, especially if they have gender dysphoria, because like for me, having that dysphoria always in the back of my mind honestly prevented me from doing so many things that I've always wanted to do. And like basically, I'm not gonna say it's 100% gone. Like some days are just awful. But most of the time, I'd say 90% of the time, my mental clarity has been so much better that I'm able to focus on things now that I'm unable to focus on before.
Yeah, I actually remember seeing someone on Transmaxxing talk about how they were like self-employed now, so they actually managed to run their own business. I assume it was recently successful. This was after transitioning. So you don't have to like give up the stuff if you transition. I think this is the other problem, is that they assume that like transitioning means giving up on your dreams. I think it's kind of the opposite, if anything.
I think for maybe some things you might have to put on the back burner, but I would say for the most part, there's no reason why you should wait to start taking hormones because honestly, the changes are so slow and so subtle that like no one's really even gonna notice until like at least 6 months in. For me, like yeah, some people noticed like within month two, but it wasn't like maybe just because like my mental was so much better, they like, hey, something's off with you. I was like, yeah, like it's because of this and this and this and that. And like, oh, okay, cool. But if you want to be like keep it a secret, it's honestly very easy to keep it a secret in boy mode and do all that extra bullshit that, to keep it secret.
I think you have to remember your goal is to live the best life you can. And you have to compare the life as a trans female to the life as a male and look what do you actually want, what is more appealing for you.
Yeah, that's actually a really good point. For me, it was night and day difference, especially like a few months on, and I was just like, yeah, I know this is for me. I saw this video. So in this video, the girl was talking. She was like, basically, you'll know if HRT is right for you, like within the first few weeks. Like you'll just feel it. Like I don't know. It's one of those intuition things where you can't really describe it to someone. It's just like you'll know deep down inside if it's really what's meant for you.
Yeah, I think so too. To be honest, like if you're in doubt, try HRT and you will find out very quickly. And this is way better and faster than trying to like talk to some gatekeeper or like therapist or whatever, or even me. Like sure I can give like my advice and what I think, but ultimately like you taking it that estrogen and like trying to self-will tell you way more than like anything I can tell you.
I know, like the gatekeeping at like 10 years ago it was so bad. Nowadays it's not as bad. Like it is for me, it was really easy to get HRT. I was able to get it at my first appointment through a telehealth doctor. But anyway, yeah, back in the day, you had to go through therapy, get letters, and you had to do so much extra bullshit. But I was going to say, if you take estrogen for 2 weeks, you're not going to cause any irreversible harm and say, like, for some reason you decided this isn't for me. And in those rare cases for people who are on the fence about it, you'll know within the first few weeks of taking estrogen.
But also, let's be real here, for like 95% of people who try HRT do not like go off it, like we both know that.
You would have to take it from my dead cold hands for me to ever stop. That's how dedicated I am to it. Like even days, like say I forget to take something or I like miss my shot by a day, or even if it's like coming up on it, like I know it's like day 5, 6, 7, I'm like, ooh, I'm starting to feel different because my like estrogen levels are dipping. I'm like, no, I can't do this. I'm going to like take my medicine. So honestly, I've talked to people recently actually who have been on and off of HRT before, and they said like, it isn't as bad because they go back to having the more testosterone and stuff like that, and they're able to just suppress their emotions and feelings a lot more. So they say it isn't as bad as you think, but for me, I don't think I could ever do that. It would just be awful.
Yeah, for me, estrogen has just made me like feel much more happy in general, and like usually I used to get like much more frustrated much easier, but now like I'm actually like getting a lot of patience.
Yeah, I was gonna say I only get like frustrated or irritated if my levels are low. Like if I wait a while to take the medicine, I'm just like, ooh, I don't want to say it's like PMS symptoms or just like I don't want to say, oh, it's your typical like girly female emotions and stuff like that, but it's true. It is very true. Like after you've been on this shit for a while, you could tell. Like you can just notice the stuff in your body. But yeah, if my levels are good, I'm almost like on cloud 9 24/7. Like you could tell me whatever. Like you're not gonna bother me, you're not gonna make me mad, you're not gonna make me like, you're not gonna get on my nerves. I have really high patience and stuff like that. And I'm not gonna get angry either. I never get angry anymore, which is it's very nice. I haven't been truly like mad or angry at someone since starting.
Is another advantage for some people is that you can just look at yourself in the mirror and see something really beautiful. You don't really need a girlfriend as much. Because as a male, in order to like experience femininity, you need to like have a female for that. But if you're like trans female, you're kind of your own girlfriend anyway.
Uh, yeah, I'm not gonna go down that rabbit hole, but I know what you mean. Yeah, it is crazy being able to look in the mirror, and especially when you have like before and after pictures. Like, I'm taking picture progress of myself, and I see the changes from day 0, day 1, and stuff like that to now. I'm like, it's not that much, but it's enough for me to actually see, like, yes, stuff has happened and changes have occurred, and it makes me extremely happy. Like, if I'm ever sad, I just need to go look at before and after pictures, and it makes me happy every time.
Yeah, it's like different of how people go with the stuff. I've heard some stories, but I think the big benefit with the transitioning is that it's fairly straightforward what to do and it has predictable results. If you instead try to improve yourself as a male, there will be a lot of things that can very easily go wrong, and it's very unclear what path forward you should even follow in the first place.
Yeah, I just don't see the point of male maxing this day and age. I honestly think if you're even on the fence about wanting to transition or start HRT or anything, just do it. Don't even waste your time. Don't waste your time doing the years and years of research like I did, the years and years of repping, hoping that you weren't trans or whatever. Just start. You're gonna thank yourself later.
Yeah, and you can still like self-improve if you want to. You can still like start a business maybe. Like sure, you will probably lose money, but you can try if you feel like it. And I think the big appeal with HRT and Transmaxxing is that with Transmaxxing there is a clear path forward with steps to take and it actually works. It's easy to follow, you would know the next step. It's kind of different when you try to mail max and try to like guess and jump into some like self-improvement path like buying some cryptocurrency that is like a scam coin and then you sell before it crashes and then you make money while someone else fool who bought it for a way higher price loses like everything. A lot of like stuff that works is basically taking money from other desperate males so they like end up as incel instead. And this is kind of the essence of like male maxing is that you outcompete other males so they end up like as incels instead while you like beat them and I personally kind of like that like idea but it's a bit tough like it's not easy to like compete against like all men in like western societies if you don't have like the foundations for that.
I actually really like that point a lot where you're a male competing against like other males. Like if you're not, I don't want to say like you're a Chad, Giga Chad, if you're not like the top 5%, top 1% or whatever. Obviously, if you're a normal dude, you can still live a very successful life. You can still get a girlfriend. You can still get married. You can still have kids and everything like that. But like the idea of transmaxing is, at least in this context, is to remove yourself from, I guess, the male pool. And now you're being taken out of that and you're being put into the trans femme arena where if you do certain things right and you take this shit seriously, you will be much better off. Like you will be the one of the better trans females, and you have way more opportunities open to you. Like if they read the first page of the manifesto, like the 17 benefits, there's a lot more to that. That's just the tip of the iceberg. There's a lot more stuff that comes to it.
Yeah, and also let's not forget that with transmaxing we aim to like do better than most trans females. A lot of like issues trans females have are avoided by following transmaxxing.
Yeah, like the Han dosing issue with people being prescribed. I don't know how they get these very low amounts of estrogen, but somehow they have their doctor only prescribe them like 2 milligrams of something, and they wonder why they're not seeing the changes they should when someone has only been transitioning for a year or much less time than them, has all these changes that they've experienced. And yeah, so if you follow the Transmaxxing, like, I'm not saying follow it to a T 100%, but if you actually take it to heart and you really read about it and get your estrogen levels where they need to be at, honestly, you're gonna have so much to look forward to. It's crazy.
Yeah, and I think this marks the end of episode 48 of the Transmaxxing podcast. I hope that you will have a nice day forward and that you will become a beautiful person, either as a male or as a female. Goodbye, everyone.